Some twist villain reveals can change the whole movie, while others can completely ruin it. And today, we're looking at both. Here are the best and worst twist villain reveals in animated movies. Starting with Evelyn Deaver from Incredibles 2.
Controlled by the screens built into his glass.
You are good.
Because her reveal suffers from the one thing that can completely destroy a twist villain: predictability. And that's a shame because her introduction is actually pretty promising. Evelyn is introduced as this chill, laid-back tech genius working behind her brother Winston's superhero rehabilitation campaign. Winston is the loud, enthusiastic public face of the operation, while Evelyn handles the technical side of things, basically the brains behind the mission. She designs Elastigirl's new tech bike and bonds with her over being two highly capable women operating in fields dominated by men. But she also comes across as someone who's maybe a little too self-aware to be a true believer. At first, this doesn't immediately scream villain. At the same time, the movie introduces the Screenslaver mystery, a mysterious figure who uses screens and hypnosis to control people, and their philosophy is actually kinda interesting. The Screenslaver believes superheroes don't liberate society. Instead, they make it weak. People stop taking responsibility because they know somebody else will eventually come in and solve everything for them. And I mean, that's a pretty damn good idea for a villain. The problem is, the movie barely even tries to hide who's behind it. First of all, I don't know why Pixar decided to name the one suspicious character in the movie Evelyn Deaver, which sounds a lot like Evil Endeavor. That's already not helping. Even putting the name aside, Evelyn's worldview is strikingly similar to the Screenslavers. She's cynical, pragmatic, and questions society's obsession with superheroes.
Or Dad could have taken Mom to the safe room as soon as he knew there was trouble.
I disagree strongly, but...
Instead of feeling like an ally, she kind of just feels suspicious from the moment she starts talking. Then there's the tech. The entire Screenslaver operation depends on hyper-advanced hypnotic screen transmission technology, and Evelyn is by far the character most clearly established as having the knowledge to build it. So when the movie tries to throw suspicion onto some random pizza delivery guy with maybe 4 minutes of screen time, the red herring never really works. Which means that by the time Elastigirl tracks down the fake Screenslaver and Evelyn suddenly puts the goggles on her, the reveal just doesn't land. It isn't shocking or surprising, it simply confirms what we'd already suspected, and that creates another problem. Elastigirl is supposed to be one of the most experienced and capable supers in the world. She's been doing this for decades. She's perceptive, instinctive, and the entire reason she's recruited for this mission is because she's known for making smart decisions. Yet despite spending most of the movie working directly with Evelyn, she never seriously suspects the person whose beliefs and technical expertise line up so closely with the Screenslaver's methods. And that's where the movie starts making a trade-off that almost never works. Evelyn shows what happens when a twist is painfully obvious. King Candy's reveal is the complete opposite.
I'm Turbo, the greatest racer ever!
King Candy being Turbo all along works because the movie never tries to convince us he's a good guy. From the moment we see him, he's already acting suspicious. He's stopping Vanellope from racing, he's weirdly controlling, and he's constantly trying to maintain order in a way that feels kind of off. He even threatens Ralph, so you're never really supposed to trust him. The movie isn't hiding the fact that he's a bad guy, and that's exactly why the reveal works. Because the mystery isn't, is King Candy evil or not? It's, why does this matter so much to him? Why is he so obsessed with keeping Vanellope off the track? Why is he acting like one little glitch is going to destroy the entire game? Early in the movie, we're told the story of Turbo, this old racing character who couldn't accept being forgotten. So he abandoned his own game, invaded another one, and ended up destroying both. It feels like simple lore at first. It's basically treated like a cautionary tale for video game characters, but the movie has been planting little clues along the way, like how he somehow knows how to manipulate the game's code itself, which feels strange for a ruler of Sugar Rush. There's also how weirdly paranoid he is about glitches, and his hatred toward Vanellope feels way too personal. Looking back, it all makes sense because he isn't trying to protect Sugar Rush, he's trying to protect his secret, and that's what makes the twist so clever. Most people already figured out that King Candy was the villain. That wasn't exactly hard to predict. What many didn't see coming was that he wasn't just some random tyrant ruling Sugar Rush. He was Turbo himself. During the final race, when King Candy starts glitching and his real identity is revealed, everything suddenly clicks. That's the great part about the reveal. It's surprising, but it never feels random. He wasn't protecting Sugar Rush from a dangerous glitch. He was protecting a throne he stole. Everything he told Ralph about Vanellope destroying the game was a lie. It was all manipulation designed to keep himself in power. If Vanellope regained her place as the rightful ruler, everyone would discover who he really was. And that's why King Candy is such a great twist villain. The movie doesn't rely on some last-minute personality change where a friendly character suddenly turns evil out of nowhere. He was already the bad guy from the beginning. The reveal simply adds another layer to him. It doesn't just answer who he is, it answers why he's been acting this way all along. King Candy's twist shows how brilliant a disguise can be. Bellwether's, on the other hand, shows how easily it can go wrong.
Run. Get them.
The biggest issue with Bellwether's reveal is that she barely feels relevant for most of the movie. When we're first introduced to her, she's this sweet, overworked assistant who's constantly getting pushed around by Mayor Lionheart. She's stressed, ignored, and treated like she doesn't really matter. And because Judy Hopps is dealing with a lot of the same stuff, Bellwether feels less like a suspect and more like someone Judy can relate to. They're both underestimated by the people above them, so naturally you kind of see her as an ally. After that introduction though, she basically disappears for most of the movie. She only pops up whenever Judy needs a favor or some information, and that's pretty much it. Instead of giving her scenes that take on a completely different meaning later, the movie's strategy for hiding the villain mostly comes down to keeping her out of focus. It's so committed to steering attention away from Bellwether that it almost forgets to make her feel important. Meanwhile, the movie points all suspicion toward Mayor Lionheart, and when Judy and Nick expose that Lionheart has been secretly imprisoning predators who've gone savage, it honestly feels like the mystery has been solved, which is kind of the problem. Although there are some clues connecting Bellwether to the conspiracy, most of the important information about her plan and motivations doesn't arrive until right before the reveal itself. So, while the twist is definitely surprising, it's not necessarily satisfying. Because she spends so much of the movie in the background, the reveal feels less like a payoff and more like the movie suddenly saying, actually, it was her all along. We've already seen the whole sweet side character who turns out to be evil formula plenty of times. So by itself, the idea isn't enough to make the reveal memorable. Then the final act asks her to go from quiet assistant to full-blown monologuing supervillain almost immediately. Because we spend so little time with her throughout the movie, that shift feels pretty abrupt. Now, to be fair, Bellwether's motives do tie into the movie's themes about prejudice and fear. The problem isn't that her ideology clashes with the story. It's that the reveal simplifies a conflict that spent most of the movie exploring how complicated these issues are. By the end, the focus shifts away from the broader social tensions and towards stopping one mastermind. Bellwether's reveal relies more on hiding the villain than building an actual mystery around her. There are some hints along the way, but not enough to make the reveal feel truly rewarding. Where Bellwether's reveal feels last minute, Water Noose from Monsters, Inc. is carefully set up from the start.
It's yours.
Water Noose is the kind of character you could instantly trust. As the CEO of Monsters, Inc., he comes across as a respected leader and almost a father figure to Sully. He genuinely seems to care about the company and especially Sully, whom he treats like family. With Monstropolis facing an energy crisis, Water Noose's intentions feel less like those of a villain and more like an old-fashioned businessman trying to keep everything from falling apart. That's exactly why the movie tricks us so well. For most of the story, Randall is presented as the obvious bad guy. He's jealous of Sully, constantly hostile, and eventually gets caught secretly building a scream extraction machine. Everything points toward Randall being the one behind the operation. Meanwhile, Water Noose is always the calm authority figure trying to solve the city's problems. His concerns about the company and the future of Monstropolis seem completely reasonable. Whenever problems come up, though, he always seems more worried about saving the company than about the monsters around him. At the time, it doesn't really stand out because, he's the CEO. Of course, he'd be focused on business. But those small details hint that something isn't quite right. That's what makes the reveal hit so hard. By this point, Sully has risked everything to protect Boo and finally thinks she's safe. He hands her over to the person he trusts most, his mentor. Then Water Noose completely blindsides both Sully and us by revealing that he's been working with Randall all along. Suddenly, this isn't just about some jealous coworker anymore. Mike and Sully aren't only fighting Randall, they're fighting the head of the entire company. That's what makes Water Noose such a great twist villain. The reveal feels like a betrayal rather than just a surprise. What's even better is that the twist doesn't turn him into a completely different character. He isn't evil just for the sake of being evil. He's a desperate leader who's so obsessed with saving the family company that he's willing to sacrifice his morality to do it. That's why the reveal works so well. Water Noose Noose was always the same stressed, desperate CEO we'd been watching throughout the entire movie. The twist doesn't change who he is. It simply reveals how far he was willing to go. Combined with Randall acting as the obvious villain for most of the story, the betrayal lands perfectly and turns Henry J. Waternoose into one of Pixar's strongest twist villains. Waternoose shows how betrayal can make a twist unforgettable, but Prince Hans from Frozen fails to do the same.
Oh, Anna. If only there was someone out there who loved you.
Prince Hans' reveal proves that a twist can be incredibly surprising and still feel unsatisfying. That's because for most of the movie, he seems like the perfect fairy tale prince. He's kind, charming, and seems like exactly what Anna has been dreaming about after spending her whole life isolated inside the castle. The movie basically presents him as the answer to her happily ever after, and at first, there's really no reason to doubt him. Meanwhile, the story kind of points suspicion in another direction. The Duke of Wesselton is arrogant, greedy, openly afraid of Elsa, and even sends guards after her. If anyone looks like they're gonna turn out to be the villain, it's him. And while all of that is happening, Hans spends most of the movie acting like a genuinely good guy. After Elsa accidentally plunges Arendelle into eternal winter, he stays behind and helps take care of the kingdom. He distributes food and blankets to the citizens and basically steps up as a responsible leader while everyone else is dealing with the chaos. That's what makes the eventual reveal so shocking. When Anna finally returns to the castle, expecting Hans to save her with true love's kiss, he suddenly reveals that he never loved her at all. His entire plan was to marry into the royal family, get rid of both sisters, and take control of Arendelle for himself. It's definitely one of those moments that catches you completely off guard. But here's the thing, the surprise only comes from how sudden it is. Because unlike the good twist villains, Hans' reveal doesn't really change the way you see the earlier scenes. In fact, some of his earlier actions become harder to explain. For example, when Elsa nearly gets shot with a crossbow, Hans actually prevents her from being killed by knocking the weapon away. The movie never clearly explains why he makes that choice. Later, he decides to kill Elsa himself. Now, maybe he did that because Elsa was the only person who might be able to end the winter, or he could have been trying to maintain his image as the hero. The problem is that the movie never really commits to an explanation. And that's kind of the biggest problem with the twist. His motivations during key moments feel unclear. It feels like he changed personalities halfway through the movie. At first, the reveal is undeniably shocking. I mean, most people watching for the first time never see it coming. But instead of making you think the signs were there the whole time, it's just, wait, why was he doing that earlier? Hans is such a good example of a twist that succeeds at surprising, but struggles to be satisfying. The reveal absolutely delivers the shock factor, but once you go back and look at everything that came before it, the whole thing feels less like a carefully constructed twist and more like a surprise for the sake of having a surprise. Hans' reveal fails because it changes his character. Humpty Dumpty's reveal in Puss in Boots succeeds because it explains his...
It was about one thing. Revenge.
Humpty is one of those rare twist villains whose reveal changes the story without changing the character. At first, he just seems like Puss's strange childhood friend who's looking for a second chance. Growing up, the two were basically inseparable, but over the years, Humpty kept going down the wrong path, and eventually their friendship completely fell apart. So when he suddenly shows up again, he comes across as this insecure but kind of lovable outcast who seems to genuinely want to make things right. He talks about repairing their friendship and finally clearing both of their names, and honestly, it's easy to buy into that. As the brains behind the plan to steal the magic beans and find the golden goose, he seems like an unlikely but loyal partner. Throughout the adventure, the movie keeps pushing Jack and Jill as the obvious villains. They're loud, threatening, and constantly chasing the hero, so the attention stays on them. Meanwhile, Humpty feels harmless. He's vulnerable, awkward, and almost too easy to sympathize with, but you can tell that something about him is really off. We've already seen that Humpty has made bad choices before, and looking back, the warning signs were always there. Then comes the reveal. After Puss finds Humpty standing alongside Jack and Jill with the golden goose, he learns that the kidnapping was staged. Suddenly everything clicks. The entire adventure wasn't just about getting rich. It was part of a long-term plan that Humpty had carefully set up to get revenge on Puss for abandoning him years ago. His resentment didn't stop there either. Humpty also wanted revenge on the town that had rejected him, knowing that taking the golden goose would bring its giant mother back to San Ricardo. And that's why the twist hits so hard. It's not just some betrayal thrown in for shock value, it's personal. The story stops being just another fairy tale adventure and turns into something much more emotional. The conflict isn't about defeating a monster or saving the world. It's about two former friends whose relationship completely fell apart. What makes the reveal work so well is that it doesn't change who Humpty is. It simply exposes the pain and resentment that had been there all along. His jealousy, insecurity, and intelligence are consistent throughout the entire movie, which makes his actions feel believable. He isn't chasing power or trying to destroy the world for no reason. He's acting out of genuine hurt, and that makes him feel surprisingly real. After the reveal, it gets even better because Humpty doesn't stay a villain forever. Instead of ending with him being purely evil, the story gives him a complete character arc. After Puss helps him realize that he still has a choice, he decides to make things right and ultimately sacrifices himself to save the town. So, yeah, Humpty is one of those twist villains that actually works. The clues are there, the betrayal feels earned, and by the end, it's not just the downfall of a villain, it's the tragic story of a friendship that broke apart and, in a way, found redemption in the end. While Humpty proves how powerful a twist can be when it's personal, Axelrod's reveal never gives us much reason to care.
You're insane, you are! Deactivate!
Bomb deactivated.
Axelrod starts out looking like exactly the kind of guy the movie wants you to trust. He's a wealthy businessman who claims he abandoned the oil industry and dedicated himself to creating a cleaner future. As the creator of the World Grand Prix and the developer of Alanol Fuel, he presents himself as this visionary figure who's trying to change the world for the better. At first, it seems like he's basically the hero behind the whole event. He's the one bringing racers together, promoting alternative energy, and acting like he's trying to solve a global problem, so he sounds like the last person you'd expect to be the villain. But here's where the twist starts running into problems. The biggest issue is that Axelrod barely feels like he's part of the story. Most of the movie focuses on Professor Zundap and the Lemon Cars, since they're the ones actively carrying out attacks and causing chaos throughout the World Grand Prix. They're constantly involved in the action, so naturally they come across as the obvious villains. Meanwhile, Axelrod shows up every now and then, gives a few speeches, and then disappears again. He's present just enough for the audience to remember he exists, but not enough to feel especially important. That creates two major problems. First, Axelrod isn't exactly hard to suspect. He fits that familiar rich businessman with a secret agenda stereotype, so there just isn't much about him that feels especially unexpected. Even if you didn't predict it though, the actual reveal still doesn't land very well. Instead of some huge shocking confrontation, he basically exposes himself after being cornered. He just kind of gives himself away, which makes the climax feel weirdly anticlimactic. Then the movie starts explaining his master plan, which honestly just makes things more confusing. His entire scheme was to secretly sabotage alternative fuel and make Alanol look dangerous. That would destroy public trust in clean energy and ultimately push everyone back toward oil. The idea itself isn't impossible, but the way it's presented becomes so complicated that it raises more questions than answers. It just feels unnecessarily convoluted. Rather than making the story more exciting, the reveal makes the plot messier, and that's really why Axelrod doesn't work as a twist villain. He feels less like a carefully hidden mastermind and more like a character who spends so much time away from the main story that there just isn't enough build-up, emotional investment, or tension for the reveal to hit. Where Axelrod's reveal falls flat, Ernesto's from Coco lands perfectly.
Success doesn't come for free, Miguel. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes.
Ernesto's reveal is probably one of the best twist villain moments in animated movies because it plays directly into both Miguel's dreams and our expectations. From the very beginning, Ernesto is introduced as this beloved musical legend. He's Miguel's biggest hero, his inspiration, and the person Miguel believes is his long-lost great-great-grandfather. The movie wants you to think he's going to be the one who finally validates Miguel's passion for music and reconnects him with his family's lost musical legacy. It's easy to buy into that idea. When Miguel finally meets Ernesto in the land of the dead, he comes across as charming, supportive, and genuinely proud of his supposed descendant. He treats Miguel warmly, welcomes him into his world, and acts exactly how you'd expect a loving ancestor to act. Meanwhile, Hector is mostly presented as this goofy, awkward sidekick. He clearly seems important, sure, but not nearly as important as the legendary superstar everyone admires. So while we're busy watching Miguel chase his dream and reconnect with his musical heritage, it's easy to overlook the possibility that Ernesto's story isn't the full truth. That's what makes the twist so clever. It uses Miguel's own excitement to distract both him and us. We're so focused on the emotional reunion that we overlook the little warning signs hidden throughout the movie, like how one of Ernesto's movies had a poisoning scene, which later ends up mirroring what he did in real life. Even in the blessing scene, when he's about to give Miguel his blessing, the petal never glows like it does with Miguel's real family members, hinting that their connection isn't what Miguel thinks it is. Then comes the reveal, and it's handled beautifully. What starts as a reunion between two old friends suddenly turns into something much darker. As the truth comes out, we learn that Hector was once Ernesto's songwriting partner and that Ernesto poisoned him, stole his songs, and built his entire legacy on another man's talent. The reveal doesn't stop there. Right after exposing Ernesto as a murderer and a fraud, the movie hits us with a second twist, that Hector is Miguel's real ancestor, not Ernesto. That's what makes the reveal so satisfying. It's a double twist that catches you off guard while still feeling completely earned. Once you know the truth, all those little clues suddenly make sense. More importantly, the reveal strengthens the movie's biggest themes. Ernesto represents fame and legacy at any cost. He cares more about being remembered by the world than about the people he hurt to get there. Hector, on the other hand, represents family, love, and being remembered by the people who truly matter. So the twist isn't just there for shock value. It actually turns an already great story into an even more emotional one. That's why Ernesto works so well as a twist villain. The reveal doesn't suddenly change who he is or force some random personality shift. He was always obsessed with fame and status. He was always willing to protect his image above everything else. The twist simply exposes how far he was willing to go to achieve it. And that's exactly why his reveal feels so powerful, making it one of the best twist villain reveals in animated movies.